Yo, what up? Welcome back. Fulltime Dreamer podcast, episode 5. Thanks for your patience. I'm trying to drop these the first Thursday of every month, and we're a couple days behind because you guys know why. We're behind because I dropped a record. How y'all feeling about it? You good? I am so excited. Today's episode, we're just going to dive into the story behind the album, how it's been doing, what's up with it, all the things about Seasons. So before we do that, though, when I first launched this podcast a couple of years ago, I had a handful of people review it and rate it, and those are the only reviews and ratings that I have on the podcast right now. So if you guys listen on Apple Podcasts, do me a huge favor. Head over to kind of the Made Podcast page, and if you guys could give this a rating and just a 1 or 2 sentence review, that would be awesome. If this podcast has given you encouragement, has been a source of joy, or hope for you guys, if it's inspired you or given you wisdom for your own pursuit or whatever you're into, it would mean the world to me if you would drop a review. It would help get more eyes and ears on the podcast. And it would also be great just to kind of for me to see how this has been impacting you. So head on over to the Apple Podcast page, subscribe to it if you haven't subscribed, and drop a review and a rating. That would be awesome to help get this podcast out into the world, into the far corners of the earth. Okay. Seasons. Here we go. Man, I love this record. I'm just going to say that. And it's been one of the coolest parts about this release, and why it's been so different for me, is because I just love it so much. I think oftentimes as a musician, you could write something that you just like and you put out because you feel the pressure now in this kind of digital content driven age to just put music out and to keep people engaged, rather than, I think there's a temptation, rather than to write real songs and share real stories that will have real impact on people. There's this temptation to be like, well, my priority just has to keep people's attention. We live in such an attention-driven society that it's like, well, I just got to keep your attention on my Spotify page, on my profile page, on my Instagram, TikTok, and you start to lose sight of why you actually started to write songs and be a musician in the first place. And so what has felt different about this album is I wrote these songs for me. First and foremost, I didn't write them to get attention. I didn't write them to build a social media strategy around. I didn't write them to film content. I wrote these songs because I needed them. That I have been leaning on them for the past 18 months. Around 18 months, 2 years ago, when I had quit my job to go full-time in music, I had felt this call to kind of go back to my roots of writing. And when I started writing songs, it was just me and a guitar in the chapel in college. I lived right above the chapel in college. I'd grab my guitar after I'd get back from a long day, and I played basketball in college, and we had a lot of our practices were from like 9 to 11 at night. So there'd be times where like I'd get back and the dorm was pretty quiet, and getting out of practice that late, you're still kind of fired up from the practice. And so like as a way to calm down, I would grab my guitar and just go to the chapel. By the time I got there, it was like midnight, and I would just process what God was doing in my life with my guitar in this chapel. And that's how songs started to flow out of me. And I would just start rapping over my acoustic guitar, a couple simple chords. And those were the beginnings of me falling in love with songwriting and processing what God was doing in my life through music. And so as I made this leap into full-time artistry, I started to feel that desire come back. God say, hey, get back to your roots of how you write songs. Because, for me, it's become, for better or for worse, it's become this like, hey, how do you keep people engaged? How can we spread the brand? How can we build this as a business? How can it provide? When you start to attach income and finances to your art, it gets tricky. And it's hard to navigate that and stay true to the purest form of the art, right? And so I've been in the thick of figuring all that out, and I just felt God say, no, go back to like why you started writing songs, like downloading inspiration from God and God alone first. And so I kind of shut everything off for a while. I was off socials, and I was just going to Him, looking for ideas and inspiration. And as I was doing that, this opportunity came up to write with Zach, my producer here in the cities. Frequently, we would calendar it. So we'd had about 2 writes a month. And I had some connections in Nashville were starting to kind of bubble up to the surface, and so they were requesting to hear more new music from me. And I'm a motivated person, I'm a hardworking person, I'm driven. But when the quote unquote industry and some of those connections, when they started asking, saying, "Hey, we like what you're doing. We like what we see online, but can you send us more?" I was like, "Oh man!" Like it lit a fire in me like I've never felt. And so Zach and I started writing together so we could send these demos down to Nashville. And the sessions were just so pure. They were just, there was no expectation. We were not chasing a sound other than we were just trying to find my sound. And so we would get together twice a month. I would bring just to share a little bit about my process. Every day I write down at least 2 song ideas. I have a small notebook and I cut the page in half, just draw a line across the middle, horizontal, and the top and bottom, it's like 2 sections for each page, and I write 2 song ideas down a day, and it could be scripture, it could be ramblings from what's just going on in my day, it could be something I saw a billboard while I was driving down the street. And so I just write 2 song ideas down a day, and at the end of the week I go back and I should have around 14 ideas. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, and I circle my favorite and I highlight and I document, and I have a way of organizing what I think are the strongest ideas to the least strong ideas. And so I would bring these ideas to Zach, and then Zach was bringing sonic ideas. So chords, melodies, inspirations, samples, things that he had in his hard drive that were buried from years ago, like anything that he thought would be cool that we could make music out of, he was bringing to the right. And we scheduled these 3 or 4 hour sessions, and then we would just make demos. And whatever we finished at the end of that session, we would just put on the hard drive, and then the next time we got together, we move on to something new. And so at the end of, about 18 months, we had 30 to 40 demos. And some of them we were falling in love with. I really loved these songs. And so we were sending them to Nashville. There were people in Nashville who were really liking them. There were some people saying, "Hey, don't put this out yet. Like, we want to talk." I was like, "Great." And I mean, anyone who's been in Nashville, who's a musician, who's listening to this, you just never know, right? There could be, on one hand, one day there's a ton of interest in your art. The next day there's none. And then the day after that, it's more interest than you've ever heard. It's it's such a kind of fickle game, networking and building these relationships and with labels and management. And so I wasn't, I was getting very excited about the prospect of working with some of these people in Nashville, but you can't put all your eggs in one basket. And so we were kind of waiting to hear from them. We were writing these songs. I was out at the same time. I was out playing shows, and I'm still playing my old catalog at the time. And I'd be in front of these people and with these audiences, and I'd be like, "Man, I just want them to hear what I'm working on now. Like, I am such a different artist now than what the music I'm currently playing for these people are." And so actually at a couple of those shows, we did a short tour run down through the Kansas City area and with my friend Lola, and we just stopped the show in the middle, and I was just like, "Hey, can I just like play you guys some of the new songs that I'm working on, like off my phone? Can we just do like a little listening party?" And so I would play like 2 or 3 of these demos in the middle of the live show, pull up a stool, sit down, and just hook up my phone and play these songs, because I knew they were good songs, and I knew that they would bless people. And I wanted to give people a tease of what was to come of Connor Flanagan, the artist. And unintentionally, it was like an incredible marketing strategy because people loved him. So then they're like signing up for my email list and excited, to stay in touch and follow me on Instagram and TikTok and kind of stay engaged until these new songs come out. So I'm writing these songs. I'm out on the road performing my old catalog. I'm sharing demos of new songs with all these people, which is probably not the smartest thing to do as an artist, but hey, I just felt so convicted. And it got to a point where things had kind of stalled out a little bit for a variety of reasons with some of the Nashville connections. And I was like, you know what? These songs just need to be out. Like, they have been sitting on hard drives for so long, and I want them to be in people's hearts. Like, I write songs for people. I don't write songs to forward, my brand or to forward, my plan for my work. Like, obviously, I hope these songs do that because that's the goal, right? So I can provide for my family. But first and foremost, I write songs to reach people and to lead people closer to the Lord. And even more than that, it's for me, right? This set of songs, all of these songs, when I was going to Zach's house, before, if we had scheduled a 4-hour session for almost 2 hours, sometimes we would just talk about life. He'd check in on how I was doing, see how he's doing with his family and work. And then before you know it, a song would just kind of bubble up in that conversation. And so all of these demos that we had written were really deep prayers of mine, or conversations that Zach and I had, or things that God was speaking to me. And so I went to Zach and said, "Hey man, I think we just got to put these songs out. Like, I can't sit on them any longer. Like, they need to be out with the people." And he was like, let's do it. So like I said, we had 30, almost 40 demos, somewhere in the middle there. And so we picked our favorite 10, and we started working on them. And I was so conflicted as we got into this process, because in today's day and age as a musician, it's a singles market, right? Everyone will tell you, put out one song a month, one song every 3 weeks, build a ton of content around it, drive traffic to your pages, blah, 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 blah. There's so much strategy around that. And I agree. I have given that exact same advice to so many people, but I just felt so deep down that this was a special collection of songs that were supposed to be together as an album. And I was having conversations with friends of mine in the industry marketing professionals, who were like, dude, you're crazy. Put them out of singles, put them out of singles, put them out of singles. And I'd get off these calls and I'd be like, you're right. They're right. Okay, I'm going to do singles. And then, I'd wake up the next day. I'm like, it just feels like it's supposed to be an album. Even as I was having my designer work on the album artwork, I was like, man, maybe they're supposed to be singles. And then, we'd be in the studio and I'd be like, man, maybe it's supposed to be an album. And I kept going back and forth. And finally I was just like, you know what? I am going with what God told me first, and these are supposed to be an album. So I committed to the album. We went ham on finishing the songs. We did like a 5 or 6 day just kind of song sprint at Zach's studio. We were there every day from like 10 a.m. to some days 1 a.m., just going deep on these songs, figuring out exactly how they were supposed to sound. And what that all turned into is the record that you guys have now heard, called Seasons. And there's two things that, excuse me, there's two things about this record that really, really stick out to me. One, people have asked me, like, who'd you write the album for? Like, who's your audience? Who are you trying to reach? And honestly, like, I wrote this record for me. These songs have been a balm to my own soul and my own journey this past year. Like, in the ups and downs of in building this music business and being providing for my family and trying to grow it, it's been hard. It's been really hard, and there's a lot of ups and downs to it. And I would keep going back to these songs because there's some bold proclamations of faith in these songs, and I'm like, God, do I believe that? Like, am I living it? Not only do I believe it, but am I living it? Because I better be living it if I'm putting these songs out to the world. I'm so passionate about that. Anyone who has a place of influence, like, you better be practicing what you preach. And I was like, I have to be living this if these songs are going to go out to other people to encourage them to live this way too. And so in moments where I felt great desperation, I'd go back and listen to these songs and be like, no, God, you are faithful. I do trust you. Like, you are making yourself known to me right now. And so these songs, the demos of these songs have been the soundtrack to my life for the last year to 18 months, to my family's life, my kids. Oh my gosh, we're singing them all the time. And so there's like a freedom. Like, I woke up on album release day, and in the past on release days, I'd be on Spotify for artists, checking the numbers. I'd be, checking in with people who said they'd help me share the content. I'd be editing content, filming things. And this time around, I woke up with this new freedom of like, God, I felt like I've done my part. Like, I am going to promote it. If you've been following me, I'm posting a ton of content right now, but there's just a new freedom to it of like, God, you're here you're the best promoter. Like, I stewarded this album to the finish line. I'm going to do what I can to promote it, but like I know you have a plan for these songs to reach people that's far beyond my own expectations. And so I surrendered this album to you. And so I woke up on release day totally free from the numbers game, free from expectations of just like, hey, God, here you go. Here's this record. Do with it what you will. I'm excited. I'll do my part, but I'm not attached to the outcome in terms of numbers right now. So that's one thing, is this record has served me so well and continues to, that it's given me a freedom of expectation around how it's going to do, quote unquote, from like an industry or number standpoint. And number two, the second thing that really sticks out to me about this album is we didn't chase any sounds. Like, intentionally for like the last 2 years, I've only really listened to jazz music. we had our album listening party a couple weeks ago, and I was sharing that with the audience. I was like, yeah, I know I'm susceptible to trends and to trending audio and to what's viral and what's popping off. And I was like, I don't want to chase any of that. Like, I don't want to chase any of that. I want to chase after what God spoke to me, a couple years ago, which was like, get back to your roots, like, process what I'm doing in your life, Connor, and let that come out through song. And so we really tried to do that. Go to God first for the ideas, for the inspirations, both lyrically and sonically, and then let that influence the music we tried to make. And so I really think like every song on this album has a different sound and is unique in its own right. And we didn't try to chase like, well, let's make it sound like this person or this person or this person. Obviously, I have my musical heroes that I love, songwriters that I love, people that I model my career after. But that's very much like a 30,000 foot view level in terms of like, I want to model their creativity, but not copy their sound, so to speak. One of the greatest compliments that I've received so far from the album was at the listening party. And my buddy Joe, who's heard all the demos, he's been walking with me through this creative process. And so, he showed up to the album listening party already knowing what he was going to hear. But he said still in the room, he was like, hey, listening to your album felt like listening to a John Bellion record, which if you know me at all, I love John Bellion. He's at the top of the game. I just have the most respect for him as an artist, as a creative, as a writer. And so if you could compare me to him, to me, I fall way short, but it was still such an honor. And he said it felt like listening to a John Bellion record because every song is so different. So around after we finish a song, you could feel this tension in the room of like, well, what's the next one going to sound like? And then what's the next one going to sound like? Which is so true. John Bellion keeps you on your toes because sonically he's just so creative and all over the place. And so to get that kind of feedback, I was like, man, you're kind of right. Like every song does have such a unique sound, but all unique to me, which I'm really, really proud of. And so those are the two things that really, really stick out to me about this album is I wrote it for me first, and we didn't chase anything. We didn't chase anything or anyone but the Lord in pursuing the creative process and building out this record. And so I'm so grateful. The record's doing crazy right now. It just caught some weird wave on Spotify, and I guess people are liking it, and so Spotify's pushing it, and I'm so grateful for that. So if you've been listening, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for checking it out. If you would continue to share it, that would mean the world to me. If you haven't checked it out yet, please do. And I would love, I would love to hear what songs you're rocking with and which ones are sticking out to you. Anyone who knows me or has my number, people have been texting me and letting me know. And so if that's you, if you've been listening to it, shoot me an email or a DM. You can go to connorflanaganmusic.com. You can just go on my Instagram at connorflanaganmusic or at fulltimedreamer.co. And I would love to hear, like, what songs are you rocking with? What's sticking out to you from the record? Maybe has God been speaking to you through it? I've never been more proud of a project. And so for this one to be out in the world is just so exciting. And it's still, even though it's been about 10, 12 days now since it's been out, it still feels so new and fresh to me. So I'm going to give you all some insider knowledge because you guys are the podcast fam. Here's my plan for this record. I'm just going to share this here so you guys can get ready for it. I'm going to promote every song on the record like it's a single. So if you are following me on socials, buckle up because every 3 weeks between now and January 1st, we're going ham on socials, sharing this record. And so right now we're still promoting the single, the album title track, Seasons. I haven't decided which one's coming next, but for the next 3 weeks, once we're done with Seasons, it'll be another song and another song and another song. And we're going to do that, and we're going to exhaust this record on socials because music is always new to people who haven't heard it yet. And so my goal is to try to get this album into as many people's hands as possible. So that's the plan. And then January 1st, starting in 2026, we're coming at you with all new music. And we're moving away from the album strategy, and we're playing the singles game. And I got a bunch of singles coming for 2026, which I'm already really excited about. A handful of them are done already. Yeah, it's going to be great. And I'm going to be teasing a lot of that music on my broadcast channel on Instagram. It's called the Seasons Loading channel. So if you follow me on Instagram and you're not part of that, go join that. If you don't follow me on Instagram, follow now. Join the Seasons Loading channel. We're changing the name of it soon, but it's still right there on my profile. Join the broadcast channel, and I will be teasing and welcoming you guys in to all that new music very, very, very soon. And also the merch store's live. If you haven't checked out the Seasons merch collection, please do. We're already getting low. We sold a ton of it this summer, and we have the Seasons album release tour is about to kick off here in September, and I know we're going to sell out of it on the album release tour. So there's still some hoodies, and we got these really sharp, fresh, like blue crew necks. The orange and the white really pop on them. So go check those out. ConnorFlanaganMusic.com to shop the whole collection. Y'all, I'm so grateful you're in for the ride. Thank you for being a part of this podcast. Thank you for rocking with the record. Again, here's the best, literally here's the best thing you could do to support this album. text 5 people today about the album. 5 people who you think haven't heard it yet. Anyone in your network, friends, people at work, roll down your window at a stoplight and be like, yo, listen to this thing I'm listening to right now. Word of mouth marketing is, I'm still so convicted, it is the best type of marketing a musician could ask for. And so do me a solid. 5 people today, text them a link to the record, whether it's on Spotify or Apple Music, and say, hey, check this out. And go, here's one step further. If you really want people to listen, text them a specific song and say, hey, here's why I think you should listen to this. Like, hey, I know you've been going through this, so I want to send you this song. Or, hey, this song reminded me of you. Or like, oh, hey, this song, I know you like this artist. This song kind of sounds like that. You should check this guy out too. 5 people, if everyone who listened to this podcast texted 5 people, man, that would expand the reach of this record so much. So thank you. I'm so grateful y'all are here and listening, and we'll be back in a month for episode, what are we going to be on, 6. We're going to start bringing guests on, which I'm really excited about. So stay tuned for that. I know this has just been kind of me and my story, and I'm always going to be hopping on here to document my journey. That's kind of priority number 1. But I'm going to start bringing on people who have stories of dreaming big and pursuing God-sized dreams with their lives, whether that's building businesses, raising families, side hustles, projects, whatever God has kind of the seeds he's planted in their heart. People who are growing those seeds and building and doing, who are full-time dreaming, we're going to bring them on here to share their stories and hope that it would encourage you. So stay tuned. That will be coming in the future with this podcast. So, all right, until then, stream the record, and we'll be back in a month. Peace.